All right.
Now,
Let's continue. Go ahead.
I think we'll be probably more in alignment on this one. Right? I think I'm going to see more alignment on this one in terms of analysis. Before we get to that, I want to be the conservative here. I want to be the Uncle Tom here. I want to put on my mainstream professor hat, which I kind of have on. I mean, this may be this, and I want to take about 10 minutes or less. Because see, I didn't just read the book on Kamala. I read all the books, almost all the books in the 2024 election. So I want to explain from a political economy perspective why these books exist, why I would read them, and why I would want to read Kamala Harris's book, and how Kamala Harris's book falls into the framework that has been established now since at least World War II. So I just want to take 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes.
That's fine. And then Saswat can come back and tell us how the fact that she complained so much about the Palestinian protesters ruining her campaign was the victory that was the Superman victory.
I'll need to rely on all of you.
Definitely.
If
you keep digging on Superman, man, I will be bringing
well,
that out again.
I just want to say, Jared knows where I'm about to go to. I'm always thinking of this 14-year-old, and maybe in this case, this 20-year-old who doesn't know any of this, right? When I was 14, when I was 20, I didn't know any of this, right? I was reading Sam Donaldson's memoir, Hold On, Mr. President, and laughing hysterically and thinking this is the most amazing thing in the world. I can't wait to be a journalist so that I can do things like this. So, Sam, I definitely hear you. What you're saying about your career and how you've now had to turn on it is what many journalists have to go through when they're socialized as journalists, get rewarded as journalists, but then see the fall of the entire structure and then have to turn on it. So I definitely feel the things that you're saying. So let me take about 5 or 10 minutes and kind of explain these things. Now, for people who get tired of me doing this because they're revolutionaries and they're radicals and they think that I'm taking so much time just explaining how wet water is, right? I just want to say that, you can go to the bathroom. It's a good time to go to the bathroom. It's a good time to make a sandwich.
No, we'll listen to you.
All right. It's a good time to do that. And then by the time you go to the bathroom and make a sandwich and come back, you'll be on time for all of us to jump with both feet on Kamala Harris in unison and in harmony. All right. So now let me pull out my mainstream side, which always is present, and discuss as objectively as I can why these books exist. Okay. So again, water wet, go to the bathroom, go eat. Ever since the end of World War II, because I always like to start every story about media with the end of World War II, right? When the United States controlled half of the world's manufacturing, and then, as Dr. Balls always said, had this incredible media apparatus that was set up with help of, as you keep pointing out, Sam, and Sasha, you point out as well, great help with government agencies, from police agencies, all of that, setting up the whole American mythos, right? That's what we're talking about, right? And comics, as we talked about in the last discussion, come out of this American mythos. Superheroes are definitely an American invention, a Jewish American invention, right? But as you point out, Sam, these Jews can be anti-Zionist. They can be, like Stan Lee was a Cold War liberal, right? So I'm hearing what you're saying, right? So we have to even sometimes go past ethnicity into the actual ideology that has been fomented by the nation, okay? So I'm hearing both of you. All right. So now, hearing both of you, now, let me give my view of these books and all of these, okay, all this stuff. And I'm going to likely touch on class and race and all this. So after World War II, book publishing is booming because the development of the American cities means that there is a more literate population. The development of the GI Bill and all these other things means that there's more and more of an educated populace, which means that with universities growing, there becomes this growth of not only a reading population, a mass reading population, but also a literary class. And that grows at the same time this development over the United States election and how the election becomes a contest of really 50 individual states, and how there then develops this whole electioneering class, these people who get paid tremendous sums of money to run presidential elections, right? And we have books on these that start to develop in the 50s and 60s that start to explain this class, but they do it in a very hegemonic way. They do it in a way that says, oh, well, this is just the natural development of American society. This is the natural development of capitalism, right? That we have these elections. These elections are free, quote, fair, quote, and we have these consultants, people who get paid really good amounts of money to talk about these, to run these campaigns, to run these 50-state campaigns, to develop messages, right? And so all of the propaganda that Dr. Ball always talks about finds a ready home in the electioneering class that is developed, right? And so books start coming out, The Making of the President, etc. And this is where your boy Haynes Johnson comes in, because all these journalists give themselves incredible credit for, well, we really created that whole dialogue, and we were the first to observe it, and we were the first to talk about it, right? And so all of this, so then we start developing this literature, this insular literature about elections, and about the people who run elections, and about the people who message elections. And so this goes all the way into the 70s. And this is where, Robert Redford, the late Robert Redford, we talked about him before, why he did that film, The Candidate. He was trying to expose to a mainstream audience that the system was corrupt. And of course, being Robert Redford, being a rich, famous, handsome movie star, he's only going to go so far. So, of course, he always goes, I'm not sloganeering. I'm not, I'm just talking about American society. I'm just talking about modern American society, right? And by the way, the superhero movie resurgence and the science fiction movie resurgence, as Samantha knows and as Jared knows, comes as a response to all of these films about society where mainstream Hollywood is starting to show the corruptness of the American systems. And Hollywood's response to that, which goes to what Sam is saying, was what? Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Did he freeze for everybody?
I was going to say, I think he froze for me.
Todd, you
Yeah.
just froze. Todd, you just froze. Please go back and make that last point.
Briefly.
Okay. What was the last thing I said?
Jaws, First Encounters.
Right. So Hollywood's response to all of these films that are the Hollywood films that are beginning to show the corruptness of American society, the young boomers getting in and trying to say, let's talk about the real thing. The response to that was Jaws, Close Encounters, Star Wars, and Superman. And Superman holds significance in terms of media studies because he is always the pilot character that is used to develop either a distribution system or a network or a forum. So he's the first superhero comic book character. He's the first person to get cartoons. His cartoons were in the theaters in the 40s. His radio show develops the radio format. He's one of the first television shows. So even when the CW, even when the WB premiered, they premiered with a Superman cartoon, a brand new Superman cartoon. So he is the test subject. The ideology within that character is always a test subject for anything that Warner Brothers does, and he's used to develop a medium or a platform. And I think that's very significant to say, right? But let's get back to politics. So what we have then is that I like to call this the wanted 1 million, right? What is the wanted 1 million? When these magazine writers started to write serious articles about American society, when journalism started getting very serious as a result of Watergate and the Pentagon Papers, right? then the dream of writers, of these mostly male, mostly white writers, some female, but mostly white males, the dream was to get that 1 million audience. What do I mean by that? It's the 1 million audience that if they buy your book, you become a millionaire. Because all you really need is about 1 million people to buy your book, you become a millionaire. So this kind of targeting of white media people who are increasingly becoming members of the elite, going directly to the elite and giving them a story they want to know about American society and the development of American society, and even hegemony, but they won't call it that, right? This is when we get the development of that. And that begins in the 70s and 60s and 70s. And this is when people make a lot of money writing about presidential elections. In fact, this was such a format that was important. Newsweek had a whole election team once upon a time who that was their job. Their job was to write a book about every single presidential election from like 1972 up, right? So books developed in order to make these male journalists superstars. And as a result of doing one or two of these, if they were really good books, then they would get great jobs like Haynes Johnson got at the university. So breaking this hegemony into two, there are two types of these books. There are books written by the journalists who don't have a lot of money, right? So they might have to, hopefully they'll get a big book advance. The top ones get a big book advance. So they might be able to take a year off from their job or 6 months off of their job, or maybe just take Fridays off and they go and they write the book, right? And they keep their job and they continue, right? Even Woodward had kept his job, the Washington Post, right? And
You froze again.
he's still there, regardless.
Todd, you froze again. Todd, you froze again.
You said Woodward.
Go back to Woodward.
Okay,
Woodward
right.
kept
So I
his
said
job.
even Woodward still has his job at the Washington Post, right? Even with all the corruption and things that's going on in the Washington Post, he's still there. He's still collecting a check, right, as an editor, right? So you have these petty bourgeois writers who are trying to get into the elite writing class or the elite class by creating narratives designed just for that intellectual class, right? So they have all these contacts. Bob Woodward had Deep Throat, which we now know was the deputy director of the FBI. Well, all of these journalists have all of these insider contacts on both campaigns, the Republican and the Democrats, because nobody else matters in America. Can't make money off of those people, right? So it becomes a very incestuous relationship, to the point where one of the things in Washington that I learned when I moved from New Jersey to College Park was that I learned to ask, is such and such journalist married, and who are they married to? Because I noticed that a lot of these top journalists were married to these top political consultants and things like that, who are making these 6- and 7-figure salaries. So I saw immediately how incestuous the whole thing was, right? So the journalists write these books about the campaign in which they use their wives' contacts or their own contacts, and they write the quote unquote insider account of what happened during an election. And then there are the books by the elite themselves, by the candidates themselves, who always hire 2 people to write the book. And those 2 people always get a 6-figure check from the publishing industry. Kamala Harris's book is no different. And you can find these people very easily. All you do is that when one of the latter people, because hire maybe a researcher if they can afford it, and they'll hire a $25,000, $30,000 researcher. You don't see those jobs because they're only on the listservs of the Ivy League colleges that they went to. So they put those jobs up for their fellow Ivy Leaguers to have, right? So they may just get a researcher. But when the candidates themselves, quote unquote, write the book, the journalists will hire a researcher that they will pay $25,000, $30,000 to in jobs that they only post on listservs of their Ivy League colleges, right? But the candidates themselves, they get 2 writers and both the writers get 6-figure checks. And you can find these writers very easily. You can find them in the acknowledgments of any one of these books, because they always say the 2 people that helped me most on this book were, and those are the 2 people that got the 6-figure checks, right? So in terms of media being products, these are the ultra products. And so Kamala Harris's book follows the pattern of Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and all of these other people who quote unquote write these books that explain from
Also
their
Hillary
point
Clinton.
of view the process. I'm sorry? Would you say
Also Hillary Clinton. She also
Oh,
wrote
yeah,
a book
Hillary
about why
Clinton,
she lost.
Oh, absolutely, definitely.
Yeah.
So they follow the pattern of this. And so there is nothing to expect from any of these books but the narrative they want to present. And when you read all of them, like in this particular case, I read 2/3 of them. When you put them all together, you see how the various pieces fit together in the elite structure. So Kamala Harris writes this book because she's been written about and been talked about as an object. And so she wants to turn herself from an object into a subject. Now, the problem with all of these books is that working people, Black people, oppressed people, and leftists are all subjects. No, excuse me, are all objects. They're all objects. And the left is not even mentioned, right? Black people are mentioned as a focus group, as a church scene, or something like that.
Is mentioned.
Like there's always
the left is blamed. The left is, first of all, defined and branded as pro-Palestinian protesters, and then blamed on a number of occasions in the book for her failed attempt.
Yeah.
And just my only thing is, in her wanting to move from object to subject, it's not just for the sake of that. I do think it is to prepare her. This is clearly to prepare her to come back into politics and to say, because she also repeats the refrain of, if I had had more time to connect with the American people, I would have done better. It was an issue of time. And then all the shots at Biden, the Democrats, the failures of her team, the Palestinian protesters, all conspire into this collage of her defeat and her inability to defend the legacy of Biden, Obama, and this wonderful country.
And what is most interesting about the format of this particular book, because I was reading the book, right? And I read this book last because I was reading all these books kind of like in the order they came out, right? And so I was reading this book and I was like, there's something familiar about the structure of this book. And I realized 2/3 in, she was using Maya Angelou's structure. Chapters as very small vignettes that say a particular thing that then adds to the larger thing, that then climaxes in a way, and then at the end gives you hope for the future. That's all Maya Angelou.
I assume this was part of just the industry of these books. I haven't read nearly as many of them as you have, but whenever I definitely read those Obama books back in the day, and in part because of you, which I blame you. This is not to praise you. I blame you. And it seems to have that similar kind of. It's a real slick. She does a very slick thing with race. How she evokes the Indian community, the Black community, how she attaches herself as auntie to the Black community through her sister's kids. I mean, it's a real slick. It was just very slick to me, and then the other thing she's happy to remind us of is that she was a top cop. She's a prosecutor.
If you notice, she's a woman unless defined otherwise. Because if you look at her bio on the jacket or on the book, it says she is the first woman vice president.
Yeah.
It doesn't say she's the first woman and black vice president.
Well, but she makes that point repeatedly throughout the book, though. She wants everybody to be reminded that she's a pioneer, not just for black people, but for I was going to say Southeast Asia, but really the whole Asia. She's like claiming and the Caribbean and the African diaspora,
Yes,
and yeah,
she's everything.
she's everybody's everything. She just needed more time.
I was saying that she's a woman, unless the narrative needs it otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's time to talk about being Caribbean, she talks about that. When it's time to talk about South Asian, she talks about that. But when it's time to talk about being black, she talks about that. She keeps black to the boule, right? Pretty much. So when she speaks to her sorors and all of that,
she literally says boule. She was literally invited, to speak to the boule, through her divine nine.
Right, but when it comes to her identity as far as the narrative of this book is woman.
No, Saswat, tell us how you felt connected to her through the Indian. Like, how did because she played.
Oh man, no. See, I mean, for me, that is a new hero. Okay, I don't want to like look at her from the lens of the caste, but since she does play the identity politics, I will say definitely start with that, because for her mom to have been a Brahmin woman in the 70s, to having been a like a scientist, to go for PhD in the United States during the brain drain phase in India, that is a momentous achievement. I mean, so all credit goes to her mom for achieving that, because she was a woman in a patriarchal, in a feudal society.
And what does it mean for her to have been a Brahmin? Could you say another word about that too? Yeah.
Okay, because yes, because within the Brahminical setup, it is even more conservative. Because just like within indigenous people, or the so-called lower caste people in India too, the women are more liberated than the Brahmin women within the Brahminical family setups, because they have to follow certain rigorous religious pretty much prescripts. They can eat this, they cannot eat that. They have a lot of conservative values that they have to adhere to. So despite that, if her mom attend what she did, that is worthy of appreciation. I'm not trying to take away from her Brahminical credentials. In fact, if I may remind, Dr. Ambedkar, who is considered to be pretty much the founder of the Dalit movement in India, the political Dalit movement in India, and who is oftentimes compared with Gandhi, and Ambedkar is heralded as the bigger hero in Indian society, and rightfully so. He was married to a Brahmin woman, Dr. Ambedkar. So, being born Brahmin woman is not a privilege in itself, but knowing that privilege, that the society has accorded to your parents at least the resources enough to educate you, to bring you up, to instill in you a sense of aspiration for success in life, that was deprived for most women in Indian society back then. So she deserves the accolades, the woman, Kamala Harris's mom, but that also was a privilege. So it's kind of a binary. It's not as simple as the privilege here is not to be blamed for her success, but the privilege is there nonetheless. What Kamala does is a very strange twist. She, because by now the consciousness, the caste consciousness in Indian society has grown to an extent in which Brahminism is no longer being heralded as this great thing. So Brahminism is not only a privilege, it's also a curse for the Brahmins themselves, which is why they do not want to acknowledge their caste. It's something like the race blindness in American, among the white Americans. So Brahmins do not want to talk about the caste. So Kamala Harris also does the same throughout, and she, however, brings her Indian identity. When she was in California, she used to do that quite a lot, but from the lens of being a member of a marginalized community, not as a member of a dominant financially well-to-do economic caste category in India. Because once she does that, then given today's context, given how today people are critically assessing, reassessing the Brahminical upbringings, then she would be considered literally the white woman in Indian society, because that is her because you'll see, you can draw parallel with white women in this society too, in the 40s, 50s, or even 60s. They could not open a bank account in their name, right? So now white women are at really top ladders, because they benefited the most from the civil rights bills. So in India also, the Brahmin women benefited the most, whether or not they acknowledge it. Now, for her, if she was talking about identity, her identity is throughout, because she always does that. She's like part of this, and all her speeches are about her identities.
And I'm sorry to cut
Then
you off, but
she
that's
could
pretty
not
deep the way
live
you
out.
describe that, because the way she uses her Indian identity throughout the book is to bring association with the so-called third world, with the oppressed communities.
Yes, which is absolutely wrong. That's what I'm saying, which is materially wrong, because inside the third world, or the Indian third world society, Brahmins are not the third world. Brahmins are the first world people. They may have protected their women from advances from lower caste people, so much so that people were literally being called untouchables. I mean, people, if you come near the site of a shadow of a lower caste person, you have to go take a shower, because you have become impure. And so that purity test was reserved more for women, literally. So it's like a so we have to protect our women. Currently it is to protect our women from Muslims, and back then it was to protect our women not only from Muslims but also from lower caste people. So the intercaste marriages were forbidden, and if you dare to marry somebody from another caste, man, you would have to go through hell. I mean, people even might burn you down to death. So things were pretty nasty. But within the protected environment, it was way more, hundreds of times more likely for the Brahmins to succeed academically, materially, financially, power relations wise. Not it's not about money. In fact, money is something they used to look down upon. So money is not what they were aspiring for. Money was for the second tier of the caste system. The first tier, Brahmins, were known for their knowledge, the exclusive control of knowledge. The second one was about money, and like the second caste in the hierarchy. So these guys were not about money. Their privilege was from the knowledge. And of course her mom was knowledgeable too, so I'm not again deriding her mom or anything, but this is the part that she should acknowledge, and she very calculatively doesn't, and it's very well expected of her. But that is a personal how personal is political, to quote Gloria Steinem of all. But
And speaking of
now,
the
when coming
CIA,
to the election part, yeah, now, yeah, of course, yeah. So her this thing, but I mean, where these things get, yeah, Gloria Steinem. Not only Gloria Steinem, I don't know if you know about George Orwell. He used to work for
yeah.
the
And
British
sorry,
intelligence agency. I mean, he used to
Samantha,
outlaw
did
this
you
thing.
want to jump in? Go ahead. Yeah.
No,
So
just because
so
I didn't read
yes,
her.
please,
Like
please.
I'm not like a Kamala expert or anything, but wasn't she born in California and spent elementary school? I know that she went to high school in Westmount in Canada, which is where all the senators, and like she was basically like integrated with the political elite and Zionist law group and
Yeah,
stuff
but
for high school. Like she only
yes,
visited in
yes.
India, if I understand. Like she
But
lived
like
there.
both her parents come from the
Okay.
like
Right.
colonized
Her
world,
father's
right?
Jamaican. Yeah.
Both her parents,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so she keeps referring to that as part of her, if not struggle, at least her identity, which should appeal to most working class people in this country. Unfortunately, it doesn't, and because we see right through that. Because for people who are like brown people in America, they know this too well. I mean, some of us are so racist ourselves that we try to, we try to stay away from other, brown and black people ourselves. So we know that tension. It's not like something, it was not invented. Racism was not invented by us, but we definitely have, embraced it. If Kamala Harris wanted to be anti-racist, if she wanted to literally be, wanted to remind people of her colonial, colonized background, then she also had to be anti-casteist, and to that extent she had to also acknowledge the caste factor, which she doesn't do. But that is her, yeah, that's her personal this thing, prerogative, I would say. I am not so invested in that. That was a passing remark. I find it always hilarious that she plays this part and liberals, go with it. I find that hilarious. I don't think that's a criminal part. The criminal part is where I draw the line, and this is why whenever I say this, then I mean, even recently on Facebook, some people are telling me, oh, it must be a racist that you are saying this thing. So they always the constant criticism is I must be a racist if I am attacking a black woman. That is when I say, okay, well, she's not. I don't think she's black woman, and not to mention, I'm not attacking her because she's a black woman. So the criminal part is the action component, which is where the problem really starts. I mean, she was a top cop. She was the prosecutor, public prosecutor, very unforgiving towards the marginalized people anyway to begin with, and not to mention the 100% embracing of the genocide. It was done right under her watch during the time that she alone was in a capacity to flip that coin. She did not. She chose to perpetuate it. It was in her hand because she was, like a vice president has no power in this country. Definitely not. But she was a presidential candidate. She was not just a vice president. Everybody knew that she was the one. She could speak out. We expect all kinds of people to speak out. Performers and actors, we want them to speak out. And she was a candidate of
But
the
she told
political
us she
party
did.
that
She
was trying
spoke
to
out
project itself.
privately in her meeting with Netanyahu to say, I
No.
think you need to slow it down a little bit.
No, slow it down. What?
But
Slow it
there's
down
also
what?
there were
Because you see,
so many
what needs
speeches
to
that
happen
she
is
did that she was saying she was going
White
to
House,
protect
White
Israel
House,
Right. Yeah.
White
No,
House under these people.
Saswat. I'm
See,
just joking to agree with
yes,
your point is to
yes,
say
no,
that
I know.
but I do want to say I
So,
want to raise something quickly. One, and I want you to come
yes,
back to this because you said it the other day, and on my birthday thing, and folks, there was a couple people that raised an eyebrow about you saying she's not a black woman, and I didn't
yes.
engage that at the time. I do want
I did say she's not 100% black woman. Okay, so that's how I put it. Which is
all right, my
one can
half
interpret
black
it whichever
self
way.
is having
Just
a little bit
call
of
me a
a
racist.
problem with that,
My
and
my
I so I
absolutely,
want to push you
and
on
you are entitled to that.
why is it important that that point be made? Why is she not part? Why is she not a black
Okay,
woman
yeah,
if she
I'll
only
be
has
very
one black parent?
I'll be very happy to answer that. You see, this is the rule of liberalism, which I do not adhere to, agree with. This is how liberal politics is played along the skin color of people. I do not agree to it at a very fundamental level. One can call me whatever term they might want to do that, but the way I look at Kamala Harris, I mean, again, Barack Obama was not black either. He was also raised in a biracial family. So they can what they are doing, just like we are talking about the films, and the directors are trying to make us emotional about it. So they are trying to make us emotional about the race factor. They are the ones who are positing in the front. I am not doing that. If Kamala Harris would not talk about her identities, then I would not bring it up. I brought it up to correct her position because that is factually incorrect.
But I don't agree with that. So I
If
don't.
your mother,
So
if
I
your
don't
mother,
agree. So
yeah,
well,
okay,
one. So
she herself, okay, so the videos that I have probably subsequently shared with you, and I can share here. I don't know how to do that. She has herself spoken many times publicly in California, saying that talking about her
right.
Indian background. When she says that I'm the first Indian American to be a prosecutor or whatever, at that time she was saying, that time she was not mentioning I am the first black woman to be doing that, because then she's addressing the Indian audience. So you
Okay.
cannot have it all these both ways. You want to project yourself, then make up your mind, then we'll go with that. But from an outsider perspective, if I know your parents are this, I will call you that. You cannot just put it under my throat. Okay, this is that. It is fine. If you do not want to be called in certain way, that's also fine. So if Kamala Harris says that, hey, I am not an Indian, I am a black woman only, I'm fine with that. But she says that Indian, I'm an Indian, so I want to celebrate her. Why not? She's the first Indian woman to reach that stage. I want to say that. Give me that opportunity. So you cannot have it both ways. So I have nothing against black people, nothing against Indian people, but you do not play politics with objectivities. These are things which the politicians have played for too long. And not to mention, seriously, I mean, this is a derailing of the whole debate of on Kamala Harris. She wants to make it about her identity and how she's this, people who are criticizing her are the racists, because this is the constant refrain. And I'm saying that is not true. That is
but
not
there's two
even
separate
a
things happening.
statement
There's
to be entertained.
one. I don't agree with how you're saying
Yeah.
she should be defined racially. I am agreeing with you on how she used her self-definition to liberally engage the
Yeah.
political, environment. So if she wants to, if
Yes.
if her self-concept is one and her experience is one as a Black woman who appreciates her Indian heritage or vice versa, I don't necessarily have a problem with her
Or vice
identifying
versa.
in that way.
I don't have a problem with that either. So I'm saying that she's not 100% Black. That's because, like I said, I want to claim her as an Indian woman too. Because I'm an Indian in this country, I might as well have somebody, very, very powerful in a powerful position. That's fine. I want to claim her, just like I would claim, there who are the other Indian politicians. Some of them are conservatives too. But another guy who is there, who is doing really good work in California, what's his name? Ro Khanna. Khanna. I'm very proud of him. So there are Indian people who are doing great in politics, and Kamala Harris should have been one of them. In fact, when Kamala Harris for the first time against Obama, when she was coming to the debate, I used to feel very good about her. I used to say, hey, there is an Indian woman who is coming to the stage. But later
But
on, when it came to
why wouldn't you feel comfortable with her seeing herself or others seeing her as a Black woman, given her father's
given
what
I
would have
told
been
you
her lived experience here in this
yeah.
country?
No, I do not know about her lived experience. I know her as a presidential candidate who did everything possible to perpetuate a genocide. So I would criticize her
But that
only on
still
that
would have
aspect, not
been,
because she's Black or brown.
but that still, again,
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that part, but that still would have been part of her
Yes.
lived experience as a Black woman. It just would have been one that says, I'm a Black woman that is fine committing genocide against other people and manipulating and using my racial background how I see fit
No,
to boost my career.
Obama killed it.
Correct. And
sorry,
my,
Samantha, what did you
and
say?
my statement,
No, I was just going to say, like, Obama probably would have been in the same position if he was president now, because when in his presidency, that was the highest number of Gazans that had been killed by American drones.
Of course,
and
which is why Obama was criticized. I have criticized
And
Obama
if I
every day
can
of my
jump
life.
in about
I have
the
Obama,
criticized
color
him.
thing, like
And I will
I
criticize
feel like
Kamala Harris.
yeah,
So
if I can,
and so Obama doesn't get a black
well,
man's
wait,
pass
if I
either.
can
Just
jump in
because he's
about
black, he
Obama,
cannot be forgiven. That is because I do not consider. You see, the black or the brown experiences in America. These are not just skin colors. These are experiences as for being in that race category. And where these people oppressed people, definitely not. These people are the oppressors people. So they can be whatever skin color they might have, they were upholding white supremacy. So I do not for a moment think that they are this or that in that way. If you are talking about really biology and science and all, that's another story. That actually goes in a very ugly road. I don't want to go there. But in terms of your social identity, as being a member of a racial group, if you want to be respected for that, that's fine. I will do that. But my response was, Jared, if you remember that chat, that conversation we were having that day, I started with this statement saying that anytime if I criticize Kamala Harris, I am told I am a racist. And I am saying, man, you are not even 100% black. Half of you is Indian too. Some of it is your mom is Indian. So then I am trying to claim her by saying it is not my racism against her that is speaking here. My criticism is not
François,
from
when
the
you do it
perspective
that
of
way, you're
race.
claiming her by denying her blackness. That's how I'm hearing it.
yeah,
I'm not denying her
that's
blackness.
that's
That's
real
I mean
problematic.
that on that I cannot. Okay. I mean, and that I cannot. Again, that's your interpretation of my words, so I cannot. Sway it either way. But if I see that the criticism of Kamala Harris especially from pro-Palestine perspective, whenever it has come up, it has been conflated in this way by saying that, because she's a black woman, you're attacking her.
If I can jump in
And
though,
that has nothing to do with anything, because the statement would be, hey, Kamala Harris is acting like this, Kamala Harris is calling for genocide because she's a black woman. That nobody has ever said that. Nobody has ever said it. But they want to make it look like that. And then you are basically, your credentials are in question because you are questioning the genocidal motive of a person based on their skin color.
I can jump in and talk about
That's
Obama
nonsense.
for a second,
I mean, she's out of...
I think that
Yes.
Obama's experience is different because as his campaign managers always pointed out, when during the campaign, when they said, "Why don't you talk more about race?" they used to always answer, "Well, he wrote a whole book about race, right?" Which is Dreams from My Father, which, by the way, is a book that he has said, had he known he was running for president, he wouldn't have been as honest, right? So even the first book on Obama, we get the most honest portrayal from his point of view we can get is a very washed out.
And by the way, I don't believe him when he says that. By the way, I've never believed that. I've always believed he knew what he was writing that book for. But whatever.
I think. Well, here's what I think. I think he did think that because he proved in that book that he had read Baldwin, Ellison.
Yeah.
He talks about reading Fanon. He wouldn't have put that in had he known he was running for president. So I kind of believe him there.
See, but that's where we go back to that last debate. I think that's exactly why you do that. You can't be the first black president, no matter how half black, whatever black you are, if you don't have black bona fides. So he had to convince black people, I'm with you, long enough to say, I'm now going to abandon you and everything else. So that would be, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not willing to deny Kamala her self-definition as a black woman. I am trying to say that her self-definition as a black woman is to manipulate black people into allowing her to become part of and black supporters, to allow her to ascend to the presidency so she can carry out the white settler colonial imperial project.
Yeah, but then Jared, you or Todd can say that, but if I say that, I'll be branded a racist.
Well, but the way you were saying it doesn't allow her blackness, though. You're saying she's not black.
No other way. Are you kidding me? There is no other way. Again, I will say, because the way I was saying it precisely because I know who her mom is, right? So I think scientifically speaking, I would say that I come from that place of the world. So I will say I will not consider her as a black woman in India. In India, her posters, banners are everywhere, claiming her to be Indian, by the way. So as much claim that black people can have over her, we also have over her. So we can fight over that all day long.
But they might have her pictures in Jamaica saying she's a Jamaican.
Another thing I
yeah. Except and okay, so if we are going to contest there, her dad left her, when she was 7 years old. It's her mom, right? It's all Indian thing. Yeah. So if we are going there,
so she doesn't get her blackness because her father abandoned her. Now we're going deep into my trauma. I'm definitely projecting now.
But you are saying about Jamaica and India. In fact, scientifically speaking, her recurring visits to India, her associations with Indian festivals, her claiming herself to be, because in California, of course, most there are more Indians than there are Jamaicans. So she was catering to them. So she has done it all this.
But she went to Howard University and joined a black sorority.
Listen. Suddenly,
this is the one thing I know about her. I know where she went to high school.
2 years. Not even 2 years. Since last 2 years, she changes her tune. And then we are supposed to be quiet about it. I don't think so. We are all serious students of journalism.
It couldn't be a total tune change because she did go to Howard and want that black experience. Right. Whatever she was doing with it, I don't know. Well, I can suspect, but I don't. Go ahead, Samantha.
She was going to school in Westmount, in an area adjacent to Montreal that is like. This is where the guy that created Birthright came from. This is the breeding ground for all of it. It's a secret little society of where it's a little hidden space where they train and educate all of these political elite and build connections. And that's where she went to high school. I know where
exactly.
But I don't care. But in Saswat, I know why you're agreeing. But to me, that is irrelevant in terms of her racial.
Jared,
hold on, Saswat. In terms of her racial. Hold on, Saswat. Saswat. In terms of her own self-concept, and even with that detail included, her lived experience is still very much within what would be considered a black experience, a black lived experience. It would be a black neo-colonial, a black, integrationist.
Why not brown?
Whatever.
Why not brown? Why not brown?
Because we're talking about the United States, and in this context, number one,
and
number two, we're talking about her. And number two, we're talking about her self-concept. What she has said. Right. So those two reasons are why I'm saying that.
Which has conveniently been rephrased by her. I'm not
I'm not
rephrasing that.
denying
She
it,
had,
but it
she had.
doesn't
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
we
It
can
really
acknowledge
doesn't
both
even
things.
matter.
We can acknowledge both things because
I
the
just want
moment
to
you
jump
said about
in.
Howard University, because you said she went to Howard, now we are talking about like little private high school too. So all
I
these
just
things
want
can
to
coexist.
The Black
All
history.
these
I
things
just
can
want to jump
coexist.
in.
Yes.
I just want to jump in and say that Obama made sure these debates were not going to happen because he made sure to marry a black woman and join an Afrocentric church at the same time. And I
Right.
always like to point that out, that he did both those things at the same time. And now we know that he wanted to marry another biracial woman, but he said, if I marry you, I can't become president.
That's right.
And if you remember when
Well, I
that
thought she
book
was.
came
I
out,
thought actually she was Southeast Asian or Asian
yeah,
of some.
she was, yeah, right.
Oh well, that's a biracial
Right,
you meant. Sorry,
right.
yeah.
And he was like, and you remember all the Obama people ran out and stomped all over this book because they knew it was true, right? It was clearly true, right? So Obama
Well,
was trying,
which doesn't look good on him anyway. So
right? But Obama was trying to
if that is
cut
the
off
reality.
all these debates by doing the blackest things he could do, right? Going into the urban area and doing work, organizing in the projects and all that kind of thing. I think part of the thing with Kamala's identity is you don't have a lot of that, and she's married to a white guy and all that, so she's a bit more open, I think, to attack.
And no kids of her own.
Yeah.
So that was
Right.
also part of it.
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying. Her accents are what I will also, in case of Obama, I will look at his accents as president. I don't care what he was doing before he was president. So, and Kamala, when she became presidential candidate, I will see, or even when she was vice president, I will see to what extent she was supporting or keeping quiet when Joe Biden was doing what he was doing. So the Biden-Harris administration, at the worst of the whole
again, all of those criticisms are great. Go ahead, Samantha.
Yeah. No, just as someone that's not American, sorry, and I it's just to fill in my ignorance. What was it that even got her the vice presidency? How did that?
She ran a hustle. She I think abused her legitimate lived experience that Saswat doesn't want to grant, but I'm granting. But she abused it by claiming that she created that distance with her and Biden during the presidential debates to say that he didn't support busing, and then she claimed to have been one of the little black girls that would have been bussed, and then it led to a little viral moment that had T-shirts and whatnot, and then she acknowledges in the book this is what she more or less acknowledges in the book that this is what propelled her upwards in terms of Biden's decision making once he got the nomination and needed a vice president. So that was basically it.
Oh, like as if it was like she would bring that
she would bring that, not only sort of that black womanhood and balance, but somebody who had stood up to him, but also somebody who had done some damage to him during as a result of that ploy, and that would co-opt that community back into supporting his race. So it was so this is why I'm saying and I want to be clear, the only thing I'm disagreeing with Saswat on here is allowing her identity, and not what she did with it. I'm not defending that, and I'm damn sure not defending.
I am nobody to disallow her identity. What I have said very clearly is that only when people no man, no, why are you kidding me? See, the legitimate criticism of Kamala Harris, they are refuted on a very unfounded claim that people who are criticizing her must be racists. The moment you say that is something I'm challenging, and I will very wholeheartedly challenge that.
But it's the way you were saying it. That's all I'm saying. If you go back and listen to even what you said on this, it sounds very much like you're saying she's not. I'm not giving. She can't call herself black, and therefore.
No, I said no. I said no. I literally said Obama can call himself black. You can call yourself black. Of course, people call yourself blacks, right? You are, so that is not something new to me. I know that very well. That is nothing new to me. I also said that when you criticize someone because on their policy decisions and by calling them racist, that is the wrong thing. Because not just me, by the way, mind you, lot of Arab people, lot of Muslim people have been called racist because of their criticism of Kamala Harris. And this thing's highly problematic, and this needs to be record needs to be set straight. It has not, you want, see that this is not the part which is the headline. This is not. So if you really if you just want to focus on that, the race of a person, then that is not a discussion. That is a very nice, healthy, long discussion with any liberal to have. For somebody like me, that is absolutely bogus discussion to have. I do not
In
get into
general, I agree
any of
with
these
you. It's
categories.
just that
No,
it's only at the point where you were
you
saying
agree,
literally she's
but
not
when
a
you
black
draw me
woman
into
because
this,
she's an
but you
Indian
draw me
mother.
into it more and more. The more you draw me into it, what will I say? Either I keep quiet and say, hey, I'm not going to engage with this topic. But if I'm going to engage with this topic, I'll be very honest about it. And the honesty part will come from this too. From my side of view, also when I look at it, then she has appealed to Indians like me for years. So I will, as being an Indian American, she literally says, I am the first Indian American, blah, 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 blah. So I
Right.
remember
And
those
she's
parts.
doing
So,
the same
yeah,
thing to black audiences. That's all I'm saying.
exactly. Which is precisely why the race is not a factor for me when it comes to criticizing her policies, because I'm criticizing her on genocide, not even on
In
other issues.
all right, I don't want to just keep going in circles, but
Well,
that's
Like in
fine.
matters of women's rights or
Yeah.
other stuff, I
if
fully
we
support
can,
her.
if we can segue into Palestine,
Yeah.
I think the three of you have read it or at least followed her, whatever. What did you think of her long discussion in the book about it? To me, it was just, gee, I'm really sorry, but
Again, Todd, you froze again.
I haven't read her book though, so if I could get filled in with what her
nothing I can do. And I
Todd,
need more,
you froze again, so we
compassion.
missed all of what you were saying she said about Palestine.
Sure, I'll say it again. I said, what do you guys think about her long discussion about Palestine in the book, which is basically, I'm sorry, gee, that's a really sad situation. I'd be less Zionist than Biden as president, but I just feel sad about it.
No, she said, look, she's very explicit. She said Hamas started the war. That's a direct quote from the book.
And which is factually wrong. Next.
Which she's again, and she's factually wrong on that. Then she co-signed the also factually debunked claim, the debunked claims around sexual abuse of
that,
the
and also
Al-Aqsa
about
flood.
the 40 beheaded babies. She kept on telling lies, lies after lies after lies, justified this genocide. So her race, caste, all these things don't really matter to me. This is where the problem is. No, but see, the distraction is this. This is where the distraction has been centered around her. She's this victim of racism. She's not any victim of racism. That is nothing at all. I don't care about that. I really don't care about that. Today, in fact, I will go to the extent of saying this, Jared, that so many Arab countries are unable to support Palestine, and countries like Spain and Italy are supporting it. So I am no longer even willing to entertain this whole white supremacy, blah, 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 too, either in this case. I'm seeing literally children being disfigured and killed at the rate that I had never thought we'd see in our lifetime. And we are fixated about race, caste, and gender. That's all nonsense, bogus things. These bogus things is what liberalism, American liberalism, is all about. The liberal politics in this country, you are talking about the motive of the director. This is the motive of the director. They are directing this agenda. You start asking a wrong question, the answer will never be correct. It's the wrong question. We have to look at the answers. We have to look for solutions. The question they posit is so wrong, which is why we are found, does this person is white? Does he have a black person to work with him? Who the fuck cares about that? All these people, we saw with Obama. Man, over 1 million Iraqi people were killed. Over 1 million Iraqis dead. This guy is laughing out to glory. His wife there, and they're bloody sitting with George Bush, and they're being friends, George Bush's wife, and they're all very, happy-go-lucky families. I remember the days when George Bush, we used to call him a war criminal. We had stickers and t-shirts we were wearing calling him war criminal. We used to call, that was 1984. Michael Moore made the documentary which became the biggest best-selling documentary of all time. Everything depicting George Bush as the biggest villain of the century. And suddenly Obama and his wife are the best friends of George Bush and his wife. So it's not
that I disagree with you, but I do think it's important. But again, so first of all, let's be clear, Saswat, in terms of our conversation today,
yes,
you centered the conversation around her race and her identity.
No, because
no
you
one else,
because you asked
hold
me
on, no,
because
let
you
me
asked me about that question.
let me finish. Let me finish.
Yes.
So I want to be clear to distinguish whatever conversation we're having here from whatever you're having out there elsewhere. So you did
Yeah.
that, and I'm only disagreeing with you, even in what you just said, to the extent we would discount the role race played in manipulating people like Kamala and Obama into betraying the races they claim to represent. So
Yeah.
again, I don't disagree with your criticism of the politics and your point about what Obama did in terms of cleansing the image of Bush and others. But I am saying it is important to understand the racial component to in the process and producing these neo-colonial compradors. So it's the internal colonial
No,
process that produces them in this
but
way. So so it's not to say so I disagree with your approach is basically what I'm saying, that I don't think the approach shouldn't be um they don't get to identify in this way because of their politics and their biraciality. The point should be they're identifying in this way and then misusing their racial identity and experience because of the
that's what I have
of
said. I have see
I
the
don't
thing
think
is
you've
there is
been clear.
Jared,
I have
because
not heard you say it in that
okay,
way, and that
because
so I don't.
because let me put it this way. When you say you are not allowing her this the identity, I have said I am no one to not allow her to identity. The identity has
Well,
been
you've
claimed by
literally
her.
said
What I
she's
am
not a
saying,
black woman. You said you've
what I
denied
am
her that,
saying,
and then even
nothing.
in
There
the
is
way
nothing
you
to deny.
said that, Jared, you
Jared,
can
come on, man.
call
There is
yourself
nothing to
black
deny.
or whatever. Go ahead.
You repeating that 3 times doesn't make it true. See, the thing is, the status quo is already there. That is not something I'm inventing. I'm challenging that status quo. The status quo is this: that Kamala Harris claims she is black. I'm challenging that narrative, and I will challenge it. It's not to deny her, not deny. Because listen, she is
That is
using that as
denying.
a
Why
tool.
challenge the
See,
narrative?
Jared. These are no. I mean, if you want to have an academic discussion, let's be also nuanced about the way we phrase it. My phrasing is very simple. My phrasing is when she does that, and that is the second part that you said, that to manipulate this to cater to this, and that is what I am trying to say. That is what I have been saying. So it is not to deny anyone, because it is the identity that they are claiming. I can claim myself as this, right? Let's say I'm a brown Indian man. Somebody says, oh no, you are not brown. So that's up to them. But this is the claim that she has made, has already been claimed. She has claimed, she has reached that pinnacle of success, political success. She has reached there. That's a fact. Then nobody is going to change that fact. All I can do is I can bring to the attention that that is a distraction. There she is playing the victim. Don't play a victim there. People who are criticizing you, they are not the racists. That is why they are criticizing you. On matter of Palestine, on other matters, I'm not talking about that. I'm very limited in what I'm saying, because in life we can only do so much activism. My activism right now is centered on Palestine. Nothing else really matters to me. This person's skin, that person's skin doesn't matter to me, because I am seeing in my bare eye what people are doing. People of all kinds
But
of
Southwest,
colors are coming. No,
but that's
Jared.
this is. But wait a
This is
minute, you're
important
making
to
a
point
false
out. No,
equation here
because
to say that
listen,
you're focused.
distraction. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
Saswat, to say
Yeah.
that you're focused on Palestine
Yes.
as the superior cause is on the one hand
There's nothing
legit,
superior or
but
inferior.
wait.
No. I'm not saying superior. For me, right now,
Whatever,
yes, it
you're
is
not.
superior
You
to
gotta let
everything
me. You
else.
gotta let me
For
get.
me.
You gotta let me. You gotta
Yes.
let me get my word out. You gotta let me figure out
Okay.
how. I gotta get the word.
Okay.
To say you when you're saying I don't care about anything else but Palestine, you're giving it justifiably and even correctly a supreme concern in terms of your activism. All I'm saying is in the context of a discussion of Kamala Harris, where race and the constructs of race are central to the narrative, false or otherwise. That's
Central to what
that
narrative?
that wait, it's
Central
in
to
that
her political
wait.
aspirational narrative.
Saswat, please let me finish. It's really I'm struggling here. Give me a second. Let me finish. It's in now I lost my the point is we're talking about race here in a specific context that starting with Kamala Harris, that so to say to then make the claim as you just did that you're focused on Palestine, you don't care about is and to me it's a disingenuous approach to the argument, because we're not offering a discussion of Kamala Harris and race to supplant the discussion of the genocide in Gaza. We were having a discussion of Kamala Harris and race because we agreed to have a discussion about this ridiculous ass book and her ridiculous ass use of race as a construct to get herself where she is in support of this colonial project. So I think the topic.
I think the topic was Kamala Harris's dream versus Kamala Harris's dream is nightmare for Gaza. So her dream, she focuses her dream on her identity, and I think that is very supremely hurtful towards people of Gaza. Her identity is not really she's not a victim in any of this equation. When it comes to Palestine,
I agree. Nobody's denying that. But
that's
part
all I'm
of
saying.
part of what leads her to do that and what makes that possible are these structures, these constructs of race and her manipulation of it. That's what she was doing in the book. And that's so of course it's to say she's abusing.
Which is also wrong. Which is wrong, right? So then,
in other words, it would be better to say, not to say that she can't identify as Black. I think it would be better to say she's abusing her identity and her lived experience, so that she can do and perform something else that you and we are all rightfully to be critical of.
Yeah, and that also has the caveat that she is not 100% Black. If you are talking about that, she's not. So you can laugh your heart out.
Sam, I gotta hear your.
I will still give credit. And by the way, Kamala Harris is a feminist and whatnot. So at least give the credit to your mom.
She does.
Talk about all the. If you're talking about racial identity,
she does.
Her mom's race. So I'm saying, I'm giving more credit to her mom's race than she is doing apparently. So let's not get distracted by that topic. That is because that topic, by the way, got distracted the whole year.
By the topic.
No, but the entire. Come on, man. Entire USA. I mean, the reason why she even got to that place because she played the identity card. Why she became the presidential candidate because she did that, and which is why that topic is supposed to be buried, not highlighted. And we are going on highlighting that. We are talking about now. This topic was about Gaza. We are still talking about her, whatever. So if we go on talking, then it will be endless thing. What do you want me to say? I have already said it, right? I have said it once. And
you said it. I just disagree with you. But nobody's.
And you have also disagreed with it. So we can move on from there. What else do you want me to say?
Well,
you can disagree, of course.
We were talking about Palestine. You brought it back to the whole. You brought it back just now by saying she's not a Black woman. What are you talking about? Now I feel like I'm being gaslit. Now I think you're trolling me. That's why
I didn't bring that back.
I'm trying to get Sam in here to actually talk about Palestine as a Palestinian. Can I do that?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you.
Do my best.
Please, ma'am. Go ahead.
What do I start with?
Yeah, there's no question. Just talk.
What can I start with?
I don't know. Now Todd's frozen again.
Oh no.
Is there something? I don't know if. Is there something in particular about Palestine that you wanted Sam to respond to, or Samantha? Is there something that you would just want to that is in your heart or at the top of your mind to say?
I probably would love a question right now because I'm a little confused from the whole conversation.
Yeah.
Let me try to lead on with some points.
Oh no!
I'm interested in how you construct Palestine and identity for you.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Good question.
Oh well, that's a hard. I mean, even just listen. That's I feel like that's. I'm probably gonna get emotional. That's I don't. I think that's the hard thing because of the way the situation is. We have so many different identities, and
exactly.
The first thing for me is just that I like my experience because I didn't have, I don't know, a religious community or a where I grew up, and because my dad's situation, he came here by himself, he had to provide for his family, and he was alone when he left Palestine, so we didn't have family here, and I spent a lot of my life like we would visit. But living in Canada, like, I mean, I've said this in other things too, but like I couldn't get into school if I told people I was Palestinian, and I couldn't get a job if I told people I was Palestinian. And, to what we were talking about before, when I came out into like to say that I was Palestinian, I lost all my jobs, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been sort of living this kind of like, I think the only thing I related to was probably like, watching those Holocaust movies where Jewish people are walking around Germany, and they like people, because I'm passing, like they don't know that they're Jewish. So they're like, that's how you live. Like that's been like, that was my experience for most of, my life. And it was honestly October 7th, outside of my family, because my family is still in Palestine, aside from, my father. And we would go visit them. And that was surreal too, because like, you don't get like, like in Canada, at least you walk around, or at least, I mean, it's changing now because we're getting more militarized like you are in the US, and they're passing ICE laws and similar, things. And you can't even walk like half a block here without seeing police now everywhere and stuff. But like for me, going to see my family, like you were constantly like harassed or strip searched or beaten, so you go and like have this experience, and then you come back to Canada where you're not allowed to be Palestinian, and nobody talks about it. So for me, it was just very isolating. And I actually didn't know until October that there were that many of us in the world. I literally just thought maybe there's a few thousand of us. Like I really didn't even know, because you're not allowed to exist in the West, in the spaces that I was in. I just knew that I wasn't even allowed an identity, and I knew that there would be consequences if people found out. Like I knew I would never have a livelihood, or I would never have, at least in the spaces that I understood, because I didn't have, I don't know, like I didn't know there were all these people in Chicago. So I guess, there's a more thriving Palestinian community in the US or something, and I just didn't even know about any of those. So it's hard, because I also feel, I guess, and maybe other Palestinians feel this way, but it's also like, you don't, like, I don't know if I have the right, to speak for Palestinians, because like I'm isolated. And yeah, it's very like, it's complicated. And then there's also, because I'm a half breed or whatever, like I'm half Ukrainian. And like even some of the groups that I got involved with, like trying to find Palestinian groups, like I was even in a Zoom call because I'm helping these artists in Gaza, and I was trying to get their work seen here through communities here. And then I went away, and these people were talking on the Zoom, and like one guy that was Palestinian, he just made like comments. He's like, about reaching out to other Palestinians. He's like, I don't know. And even these half Palestinians or whatever they want to call themselves. And this person was Palestinian, and I had heard that. And I just like, this is sort of like, I don't know. So this is my, like, but I feel like I don't know if my experience is, I think it's probably very typical for a lot of Palestinians, that because we've been so dispersed, there's probably a lot of them like me, but I haven't, found them. But then at the same time, like those kind of experiences just make me wonder, like, where am I allowed to sit in this, situation? But being Palestinian has defined my life, even just from the fact that like, the consequences of it, even if I couldn't always be around the culture, the community, the consequences of being Palestinian have always been very present. So that's like, been a big part of how I see the world, I guess. And yeah, so I don't know if that's like I don't know, I don't know if I can speak for other, but that's been I'd say that like if I could sum it up, that's probably how I would explain it. And then I think the half thing, like I really appreciated, when you were talking about it the other day, because I feel like that's another thing that you feel like a part of me. I don't feel like it's half. I feel like I'm both, like I just feel like I'm both. But depending on how people want to perceive you, maybe you're halved, or you're like, and then with the geopolitics that are happening now, it just happens to be that the two parts of who I am are like opposing sides of empire, which is another very difficult and very divisive, thing in my world as well. So that's I guess that's my nutshell of my own Palestinian experience. But like we know my father's stories, and my father was in Nakba, so like he's much older than my mom, and he was like 8 or 9 when the Nakba happened, so he still has a very strong memory of that, and we lost family, and yeah, so that's sort of something we've been very conscious of, like that story too and stuff too. So yeah, that's where I'll start, I guess.
No, thank you for that.
No, thank you. This is
Was there anybody have a follow up or anything else?
yeah. No,
I don't.
I would say that this is what makes Palestine issue so central to, or the litmus test of our time, because the various identities that I witness on a daily basis, I mean, and all coming together for Palestine. Not take it's almost like they're adapting the identity. Like there is one of the slogans we say, in our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. So these things, I mean, it had never been like this in the history of the world. To put it in perspective, I mean, there's a people who has strong, identity and roots, and the Nakba knowledge, which the world was not allowed to know about. And now suddenly the outpouring of attachments from people all across the world, unifying, rallying around Palestine, that that is a tale of our time. I mean, I don't think any other issue is more paramount. And by the way you heard Sam say this, I mean, do you think in today's age, I mean, who is being targeted as viciously as a Palestinian? Literally, the president of America uses Palestine as a slur,
Yeah.
like as a curse word. That is the extent to which Palestinians suffer. And which is why, I mean, when I say, I'm not saying it to win any brownie points, just saying that this is why Kamala Harris, Joe Biden will never be. Joe Biden, we used to have a slogan that genocide Joe has got to go. So it is not about that.
Now Saswat is
Whoever you are
freezing
in
up.
position of power, and you are
Yeah, so it's not about what
sorry, where
you
was I?
froze up there.
Yeah. So no, I mean, it's not about which party is in power or which politician comes from what background. Right now, the moment is to act. If they are failing to act, no matter, and if they are acting, the formation they come from, it really that matters very little. That we can go back and analyze all those things later. But yeah, Todd, go ahead.
I just want to say that I voted for De La Cruz for president, not because of any radical ideology, not because of any radical program or anything. I just watched the PBS NewsHour every night, and they had a British reporter on the ground, and watching literally every night babies dying. There was just no way I could vote for Kamala Harris. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't do it.
Exactly.
I couldn't do it. There's just too many babies, little infants dying and being wrapped up in shrouds.
Exactly.
I mean, and again, I know.
No, so my thing is, okay, now Todd is freezing.
Yeah, Todd is frozen again.
I don't know.
But see, if you go to my personal Instagram, social media, I don't think I have posted anything else. I mean, I've been covering all kinds of stuff. I'm professionally a journalist, so I get to cover many different events. Palestine every single day, unfailingly, and I share stories every single day, at least 20-30 stories for people who are coming to read, and I take pictures, videos, I post them, because, and I ask of everyone, all my friends, that are you doing as much as you could do with whatever tools are at your disposal to highlight this. because the other narrative is so strong and so brutalizing, and today it is brutalizing, I mean, not only Palestinians but also those who are coming out in their support. So this is this is a no-brainer. There is nothing else which, literally there is nothing else in the world today which should be mattering to any of us more than Palestine. You want to challenge me on that in any way you come, I will prove you wrong. It is the only fact. Until this whole, because now we know how embedded US is in this project, and how this is reached the highest stage of capitalism is imperialism. This is the highest stage of imperialism. I don't know how to phrase it, but this is the classic contradiction, the highest stage of contradictions that we have reached. And even if at this point we hesitate to address this, we go around beating around the bush with all kinds of nonsense, then that is our privilege speaking, nothing else. Literally privilege speaking. That's not a victimhood, that's a privilege. So my race, my color, my class, none of this really matters at this time. Seriously, you can butcher me in whichever way intellectually. The only thing is, if you are not addressing Palestine every single day, then you are not doing enough. All of this, everything else is performative, doesn't matter. And by the way, how we can address? So many ways. If you're an artist, you can sing a song. If you're a student, pick a sticker, put it in your backpack and go. Show around the world. Wherever you go, you demonstrate that you are against this and you are for this. That is very important. It is not a joke. A lot of people try to make fun of, say, oh, you guys are protesting, or is nothing happening, then you go to no, every single thing matters, every single step matters. And again, this is what people in Gaza have been telling us. They literally write on the wall, beautiful English they write, that please post about us, please write about us on social media, because that's the only media we have at our disposal. We don't own New York Times, and New York Times, we call it New York Crimes. We literally have a newspaper coming out by
for
that
me
name. New York Times is so complicit in this
summarizes
genocide.
where we've diverged all day today. Is the point that line you just said there, that a student should put a sticker signifying that they're for this and that they're against this and for that. It's the for that
Yes.
that it's
Yes.
that is where I struggle. Going back even to our first part of our conversation, it's I agree with almost everything that you were just there saying. It's that my concern
if you
is
remember that they
but
were
hold on a
using
second,
t-shirts.
Saswat. Gotta let me finish. You gotta let me finish your
As a
thought.
symbol of protest.
I'm struggling.
Yes.
I'm struggling. You gotta let me finish.
Yes.
It's once they it's that putting the sticker on saying free Palestine is saying you're against the genocide, which is great. That should happen exactly all. But it's not a claim for something. It's not an advocate. It's not advocating for something else. And that's the half of the equation that I'm struggling with in terms of what will happen, what happens next with the initial critique of the genocide. So we don't have to recycle and start again the debate. I'm just saying that one line is, to me, is the headline of our
Yeah, if you allow me a moment, I will tell you what happens next. What happens next? We don't know what happens next. But if we do not do that, then what is going on is the status quo. How do you disturb the status quo? Not see, for example, I have told this in the other, during a birthday also. I do not know how to use a gun, so I cannot fight the battle that way. My way of fighting battle will be different from your way of doing it. For a student, the student can only do so much. Student who is going in a subway train, maybe wanting to show a symbol. I'm not saying all of us have to do symbolisms, right? We can do in other ways. Maybe you can write a poem and read it out. You do what you can. My point is, do what you can in all the tools that are at your disposal, whatever you can.
And I get it, but
that's all.
But that
we should not
it's
be
not about,
purists in saying
again,
that, oh, if you
Saswat,
do
please
this, this
stop.
doesn't mean
Saswat,
anything.
I feel like we haven't met, you know what, we need to stay in greater communication, because I feel like you think you're talking to some regular liberal or whoever. I feel like you don't, you're talking to me. So what I'm saying is I'm saying everybody do what they can, but the area that one area of concern for me, and why I've been so critical of these films, so much of these popular media narratives, the symbolic allusions towards something left or progressive, is because my concern is that the next step, the encouraged next step, after we've put our stickers up and sung our songs and whatever protest it is that we are able in our whatever our that is not in and of itself leading to some level of elevated organized effort in response that would make the next genocide moot. That's and this is where, just to tie these subjects up,
No, we don't know that,
this is
right?
where I do think you're doing a disservice to the construct of race and its deployment in this particular internal colony when we're looking at a discussion of Kamala and films in the United States and what they're meant to symbolize and project in terms of saying, yes, you're going to put the sticker on, you're going to sing your song, you're going to go to a protest, you're going to put your fist up. After you do all of that, and this is what I think Todd is saying is so important, we want you to come back to the Democratic Party. And if there's not,
and
No,
if
for
I
no,
can jump
actually,
in, and if I can jump
actually,
in,
no,
hold on.
no,
If I can jump in.
no. You may
Oh, wait,
you may
hold
think
on,
so,
Taj, hold
but
on, Taj,
see,
just
the
one thing. I can
pre-Palestine,
jump in.
yeah,
The
yeah.
book makes what Jared just said very clear, because what is the back cover of the book? It's Kamala speaking and her grandniece looking up at her.
which she talks about in the book. She says it's a signature moment.
Right. So I think it's semiotics, right? So the semiotics of that is that our future is even more compromised, because if someone is looking up to Kamala, and then the book ends on a graduate.
Oh no.
Todd, you froze again.
You'll have to like do little editing slices to make it look
Of
like
somebody.
I know Todd is gonna. Todd is. I mean, I'm afraid the edit is not going to be up to the. Is you know. But Todd, say that point again. You froze again.
I'll say it again. I said, if the whole point is to have a young black woman looking up to Kamala, right? Then Kamala becomes the model, and having the book end with a graduation of someone in Kamala's favor as the future, then that means our future is even more compromised.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and which is why Kamala should not be the role model to begin with. And it is the people who are putting up those stickers are the ones who are heckling Kamala. You see, the thing is,
but they're not heckling the Democratic Party.
We can.
That would be the line that I'm.
No, they are. No, Jared.
Okay.
Actually, they are. You see, this time this time Jill Stein won the most pro-Palestinian votes, and Jill Stein did not win anything, but she did disrupt that process. And literally, Kamala Harris herself would admit that a large part of her own defeat was thanks to the Palestinian protesters. Yes, so which means it did make the impact, and this impact has to be amplified even further, because a lot of people were scared last year. A lot of people were scared, and by the way, people are more scared when Democrats were in power.
But Sasha, when I'm saying break with the Democratic Party, I don't mean in just this election. I'm talking about the next one. That's my point.
Yeah, next two. That's my point too. So we are actively trying to build an alternative platform. So let's see how that goes. Right now, my thing is, people should not anywhere, even in your workplace, even in your school, even wherever you go, nobody should be comfortable with the idea of genocide. What happens in next electoral cycle, I don't know. And frankly speaking, again, from where I come from, my politics comes from, I am not worried about who is winning, who is losing elections. I do not believe in electoral politics. Let's put it this way. That is not my way of looking at how society progresses. That is again a ruling class history speaking. This president was there, this under him this happened. That is not the history I want to read. No, listen. So people's movement are invariably always separate from these, party
again,
politics.
I don't disagree with
party
you. I'm only mentioning it because of the.
Yeah, so who wins is not my problem. My problem is too many people were very comfortable with the genocide. And by the way, after what happened they keep on saying October 7 is the September 9/11, like 9/11 moment. If that is so, now please tell me, after October 7, nobody in their right frame of mind should have supported Palestine. And yet today, whoever I am talking to at this time, most of them are in support of Palestine. That shift is a major achievement of the movements that took place in different ways, from protest to stickers to all kinds of boycott. BDS, look at BDS. BDS did excellent work when South Africa was in apartheid rule, and BDS is doing outstanding work now when it comes to Palestine. We are boycotting left, right, center. I have not gone to a single those places which are supporting, whether McDonald's, Starbucks, or like I used to enjoy Soda Stream. No Soda Stream in my house anymore. So all these things, little things, they all matter. What shoes I wear, Reebok, will never be allowed in this household. So this is what we do. And we practice what we are preaching, and a lot of people are doing it. It's not just me. And this is a very, and these things, despite the parties, what political parties say, we don't care about this which candidate wins. That is one part of it. That
You
is not the
say
whole
that,
thing.
and
They
I,
want to
and I
say
agree,
that American
and I
democracy.
agree
No,
with
no, no.
that.
They,
But
no, no. That is the ruling class story. That the winner takes it all.
Saswat, I understand that. My point, though, is that this is in part. So, but going from I'm not voting for Kamala, going from I'm not buying a product, going from I'm even breaking with the
Yeah, all these things are important. Should be done.
Even going from breaking with the Democratic Party to a clear, assertive step somewhere else. That's the area I'm concerned with, and that's why I'm critical of these films.
Find your own, Jared. Find your own.
You know what?
PSL. Now,
Go ahead. You got it.
Todd now said Claudia de la Cruz, right? Claudia de la Cruz, support her. Jill Stein, support her. You can always find your own. I cannot tell that where you want to go. All I'm saying is the parties, the people who are complicit in this genocide, they must be boycotted. You can pick other people, and there are a lot of people actively boycotting who are taking leadership positions. Support them. Nobody's stopping you to do that. We do that. I actively do that. I was recently.
All I want to say,
so you can do that. You can support Jill Stein.
You're talking past me. You're not talking to me, because I didn't say any of that. I'm struggling to make my points. I'm struggling to be clear. I admit it. I'm having a hard time getting my thoughts in. But you're not. What you just said was yet another statement against something I have not advocated. My point that I still don't think you're hearing. I don't think I'm doing. This is definitely not my best job in articulating it, but I'm also not getting the time and the unfettered space to say it. I don't think you're hearing me when I'm saying my argument is in disagreement with what I think is your insufficient attention to the intent of the narratives coming from the Kamala Harris book, the Superman film, the Fantastic Four films, the calls for us to be involved with bourgeois electoral politics. The attempt is to address the sentiment you are rightfully saying exists. It does exist. It is how it forms itself into an organized response that becomes something more powerful enough to actually stop the genocide instead of just protesting it, is a whole other thing. And my fear and my bias and my analysis of the situation is that too many people will not follow your path away from electoral politics, and will not follow your path to the extent they engage in electoral politics away from the Democratic Party. That's my concern, and that's why I keep hammering so much on all these popular attempts to symbolize some sort of progress. And that's why in the article I quoted in the discussion about Fantastic Four, I centered on that point that Samantha has talked a lot about and written about, this engineering of the emotions. This is what I think is the attempt here, to engineer our emotions that they see are justifiably enraged at this genocide and other things happening in the world. And they're saying, fine, as long as you don't express that frustration in avenues that are unacceptable to at this point the liberal wing of the ruling elite. That's my so that's what I think is the intent. You're rightfully focused on what the energy in the streets and in the community and the activist spaces are.
But those energies, Jared, those energies are getting translated. You are not acknowledging that. Why are you not acknowledging when they're getting translated?
Because I don't. In what ways is it? Because of the ways you're describing and the ways I'm seeing are insufficient.
Then please. Well, we were not seeing. I don't know why you are not seeing it, because we are seeing it. So let me give you some examples.
Their head cracked open.
Let me give you a few examples.
Yes, I'm seeing.
Yes, because you are not. Because yes, okay. So examples is this. that people used to say there are two ways of looking at any logical equation: positive way, negative way. Meaning positively, meaning let's say positive is all people are equal under the eyes of law. Negative is no one should be discriminated. These are how you form the sentences. Now, one of the positive sentences I'll tell you. For example, now there is global smooth flotilla. 44 countries, people of 44 countries sent their ships to Gaza with food supplies. This is something which was unthinkable, let's say, a year ago. Today, it is not only being done, it is being celebrated, it is being acknowledged, and it is actually helping people. For the first time, there was people, people in Gaza, in their sea beach, they were actually, getting fish. They were fishing. They had fishing nets, and they were eating food. These things are positive things that are happening. Negative things, negative way, the way to rephrase, I'm just coming to that. Negative way, people used to lose jobs and getting doxxed because they were pro-Palestine. Now, the negative way is that has come down quite a bit. It has not gone away. It has come down quite a bit. It is not such a big taboo to be critical of Israel now as it was before. People are openly, and this is when you think about a lot of when big celebrities are also opening their mouth. So I was talking about Nelson Mandela. The guy was in jail for 27 years. And he wrote this book called Long Road to Freedom. So freedom journey takes a long road. What Palestine teaches us is the word smooth, right? The
And do you know what he? Hold on, but see, this is what I'm saying. But what did he say in the book? But what did he say in the book? You have to get rid of socialism and armed struggle, so I can be free, and South Africa can be retained in the hands of the colonizers.
Jared,
but you brought it up, Saswat.
Jared, I'm not going into the book review of Long Road to Freedom. My thing,
but that's the point.
Come on, Jared, that is not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to tell you.
I know that's not what you're trying to say, but you try to use his long road to freedom as an explanation as what we need to be walking towards, and he was literally saying
Indians got their independence after 400 years. So things take time. So for Palestine, we have an organization within our lifetime. So we are saying, okay, within our lifetime we'll get it. So who knows? We don't know. So, but within our lifetime.
But South Africa's not free. South Africa's not free.
It is okay. It is just 2 years since whatever we are seeing at the scale that we are seeing. So we need to have the same. We need to have the same level of We need to have the same level of patience, and we need to express the solidarity when people are there doing their thing. Now we are so hastily concluding things. Oh, it's not happening. Oh, what is next? What do you mean?
I didn't say that.
Ongoing.
Again, you're doing it again.
I don't know.
I don't know why you're doing this to me today. I did not say that.
Happening? Okay, so
I did not say that. I did not say that. I will. I'm going to have to interrupt again. I need to be clear, Saswat. I'm not saying people are not doing anything. I'm not saying people are failing. I'm not saying there's. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. What I'm saying is, the sentiment around the world is as you say, and that's why there is this effort from those in the ruling elite.
They will make all efforts. Of course, they will make efforts, and we'll always counter it. We'll always counter it.
God, we don't always. Saswat, this has been really. This has turned. This has gotten a little frustrating.
We may expect them to heighten their efforts, and we will counter it. Now, let's say for right now,
that's an assumption, because this is why it's important. This is why what you said about South Africa is not fair, because this is my whole point. This is my whole point. You just used the title. You used the title. Wait, Saswat, you're gonna have. I'm not gonna let you. You're gonna have to let me finish. Saswat, you used the title of Mandela's book to talk about the patience that is necessary to see the long road to freedom. And my point is, the patience you're encouraging be applied to Palestine using the example of Mandela in South Africa is making my point, because South Africa is not free. The colonial powers have not been overturned, and Mandela's release, including his own presence post his release, was used to further suppress the people of Azania and all of the radical movements on the continent. If we do not account for that, if we do not account for those efforts, and we only praise the efforts among those at the bottom, we're going to miss out. We're missing what's happening in the moment, and we're missing an important part of what needs to be part of our analysis, given this improved, more sophisticated media environment than the one Mandela returned to and the ones that have previously existed.
Not just I said that, so you very conveniently pick that statement and you're making your thing about it. But what I am saying is, Anti-colonial struggles in all the third world countries, they have also failed at various levels. That does not mean the aspirations or the freedom fights that took place were illegitimate. They were
I
needed to be
never
done,
said that.
and they were done. No, I'm just saying it. Please allow me to
But
say
you
this.
keep bringing stuff up
This
as
I'm
if
saying.
you're addressing
Exactly.
something I've said that I've not said.
So then South Africa and Mandela, I don't think this is the time to criticize them in view of Palestine, because Palestinians are getting
I'm
inspired by
not.
Mandela, and I
I'm
want them to get inspired
criticizing
by
your
Mandela. So then
analysis.
why are we distracting? Let's not distract things. So Mandela's statement was about long road to freedom, which basically means there is long time. These people have gone through Nakba, several Nakba, not just one. That Nakba, then these guys say, oh, we have a second one coming, Intifada. This will be third Intifada. Those things will happen. They are not giving up. Why are we giving up so quickly?
I didn't say
We
to
don't
give
need to.
up.
Okay. If not,
Again, you
then
keep
let us.
saying things I didn't
Okay,
say.
then
What
Jared,
I've
then why are
said
we
is
talking about what's
the
next? What's
goal
next?
of the media. No, what I said is the goal of these films and these books is to make
worrying
us
about
give
what's
up.
next?
You're not,
Why
see,
are
that's
you?
the part you're not getting. And that's why you keep talking over me and you're not hearing it. You're talking and not listening. And that's why we keep running into this wall where you keep saying things that I have not said. Saswat, that's the key point that I'm making. The righteous fervor among those wanting to resist the oppression is being met in attempt by those in power to suppress and distill and disseminate that energy elsewhere. That is the. But listen, I'm going to stop there.
How does that?
I'm good for today. I want to let
Why
all
should
three of
that
you have your
disrupt the
last word. So
protest?
Saswat, go ahead and finish your point, and then we'll let everyone
Okay.
else finish, and then
Okay.
we'll.
Okay. So my point is this. So let's say very recent example in front of United Nations, we did protest every single day from 12 to 6 p.m. because UN General Assembly was going to be held. We went from one mission to another mission, one country's mission to another country's mission. We tried to have conversations with them to try to make sure to form even a group which will have a military organization to go and defend Gaza. And so Colombia's President Petra, who is a leftist guy, he came forward and he fully agreed and committed to this. And of course, Donald Trump revoked his visa and whatnot. So these things, one by one brick after another brick, as we say, Zionism will fall. So we are making those steps one by one, theoretically and in practice. Little steps. We are not talking about what will happen in 20 years. We don't know. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. Somebody might kill me. Who knows? But right now, what we are supposed to do, we are doing. And what I'm saying is, whenever people do any kind of thing, whether students putting their stickers on, because earlier putting the stickers on, your parents will not let you go out of house putting the stickers on, because the principal will call your home and complain that this person is doing whatever. So now people are wearing their keffiyehs. It's very important you wear your keffiyeh wherever you go. Do that, please. Get a black and get a red one. Do it everywhere. This showing of solidarity with Palestinians is absolutely important. Angela Davis can do, so can we. We have our great role models. We don't need people like whatever other people. So every single step in the right direction, we must applaud and encourage.
I think
Without
Angela
worrying,
Davis voted for Kamala, didn't she?
listen, without worrying, oh, what will happen? This thing happened in South Africa, they didn't get freedom. All these things are hypotheticals. We don't know what will happen in Palestine. But right now, it is very important to turn the public relations campaign that US and Israel have put in front of us. So that in every single way, whichever way we can do, we shall do. And we should encourage and praise people, not to judge them, not to laugh at them, to praise every single effort of them, no matter what it produces tomorrow or not. It is today, it is this very moment. If you guys are Facebook and Instagram, please post about Palestine. Please, in your profile, post about Free Palestine. Do this much. Forget about what will happen to other people they are doing or not. You do it yourself. No. Who is stopping you from doing that? Do that. Take this, because I know that is a risk. By the way, that's a risk. And I'm not going to encourage you to do that. I am fucked, by the way. No academic university will take me seriously. But you guys, so I'm not going to encourage you to do that. But remember, people who do that, they do it with enormous risks. It is not to be taken lightly. And that is very important that they do it. Hip hop had that role. In South Africa, all this, graffiti works, t-shirts, everything had its role. And BDS is very valid campaign, and it had an excellent success in South Africa. Let us not discount that. Just because now things are, the same way in India. India now, yeah, Modi and India is fucked. Of course, India is not that great. What, those people had thought. But we still had a major victory against British colonialism. We have to acknowledge that as well. Right now, the important part is to free Palestine from the clutches of these settlers from the clutches of this apartheid regime. So every step possible we do it. Whether tomorrow Palestine will become this one country from the river to the sea, we don't know that. But right now, what is important is what we will do, and we will not get sidetracked by all this nonsense. And it should not. Nobody should be discouraged or made fun of when they are doing it. On the contrary. So that
I
is
want to.
there where I rest my point.
I want to
say.
give Sam the final word. So I just want to say very briefly that as someone who's kind of like semi-retired from these discussions, and I really want more people to read books. I'm tired of reading all the books and coming on here. I want other people to read the books and come on here. Putting that aside, I think that the election of
Read books. Read books. There are plenty of books. I can give you a whole library of books, but read the right books. Don't read
Raswat, please, my man, please, please.
I'm just giving it for your audience, man.
Please, please. Now Todd's frozen again.
Yeah. Did any of that come through?
Nope.
Good. I'll say it again. I wanted Sam to get the last word. So I was saying, as someone who's kind of semi-retired from doing this kind of stuff, like I'm tired of reading the books. I'm tired of coming on here talking about books. I want other people to come on here and talk about that they've read books and make analysis. As someone who's like that at this point, I think the election of Mamdani is going to be very important to see what we can do going forward, and I'm excited by that.
It is.
To me, he's a Democrat, so I really don't know, but I'm not an American. So I feel like that I'm not going to comment too much because it's not really my area. But I do wonder about, like, I just think he's been a bit shifty already. So those are my things on him. But I hope it's hopeful.
So look, I really appreciated this. I look forward to more discussions. Thank you all very much. And
thank you for having me.
No, always, anytime. We'll definitely do more. And yeah. So peace, everybody. Only if you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. And we'll see you next time around here with more.
And what do you sacrifice?
Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago for which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight, that set me on a path from which there's no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, there's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. Now, the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.